Good morning, everyone. Today is 15th of April, and let's start with the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So, guys, here we are going to take all the important relevant articles that are there in the today's Hindu with respect to our examination, and you can download the explainer notes of this particular session from the Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in the description box in YouTube. Okay, so let's get started with the today's session. So, before starting the class, we take a GS quotation, and today we are going to take the quotation from Albert Schweitzer. So, Albert Schweitzer says that ethics is activity of man directed to secure the inner perfection of his personality. So, ethics is activity of man to secure the inner perfection of his own personality. Now, our personality has infinite possibilities, but because of temptations in the external world, because of greed that we have in external world, what happens, we are never able to realize the inner perfection of our personality. And ethics in this particular direction helps you to realize this inner perfection of your personality by making you do the right activities. Even there might be the temporal loss right now in those activities, but they have to be done for the sake of right, and when you do it, you realize the inner perfection of your personality. So ethics helps us in the kind of self-fulfillment, self-contentment. So you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude. Now, moving on, and let's take the first article for today. So here we have this article: by attacking Israel, Iran signals strategic patience is over. Now, this is an important development that is coming. Now, first of all, this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, International Affairs. GS paper number 2, International Affairs. So, let's get started with this particular article. First of all, let me tell you the context as what has happened. Okay. So, basically, guys, what happened? Step number one. Step number one. Uh, Iran Iran made an allegation against Israel. Iran made an allegation against Israel that Israel has carried attacks on Iranian embassy, in Syria. Iranian embassy in Syria. And in this particular attack, many of the top commanders of Iran, they have died. Okay. Now Iran say that we want to retaliate. We want to retaliate because of this attack that has happened. And therefore, what Iran did, Iran has carried a targeted attack on Israel. And when we talk about this particular attack, you see that actually what happened, it was a big attack, 300 drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, they all were directly attacked by Iran on the Israeli establishments. It has led to certain damages also in Israel, though Israel says that we have not faced much of a damage. But guys, if we see, this is a first time that Iran has launched a direct attack on Israel, and a first time any nation has attacked on Israel after the 1991 Gulf War. So up till now, what was happening, there were the attacks that were made by the militia groups on the countries, and these attacks were said that, okay, let's say one militia group made an attack on country, so country will say that this militia group was supported by some another country. Direct attacks were not there, but now this has happened. And here we see that basically there is a new crisis that is unfolding in West Asia. Now, because of this particular crisis, there are three important key takeaways that we can learn. Three important key takeaways are. So now let's move in the analysis. So this was just the information, but now let's start with the analysis. Now, first of all, implication on US, or what are the US stakes in this particular attack. First of all, guys, US President Joe Biden, he is trying to follow a policy of containing the West Asian crisis, but supporting Israel at the same time. Now, what is the USA's approach here? Let's understand this particular thing. So basically, what has happened on 7th of October 2023, we saw this particular thing that Hamas, they carried attack on Israel, and then Israel started counter attack on Hamas. In this particular thing, US said that we will support Israel with all the weaponry, moral support, whatever support is needed to Israel, will give the support. But at the same time, US said that will ensure that it does not unfolds in a regional crisis. It does not unfolds in regional crisis. They said that will ensure that other countries should also not other countries should not come in this particular crisis. For example, you know that Iran, Israel, they have a big time rivalry. So it should not unfold in a kind of a rivalry between Israel, Iran, or something like that. But we find that US policy is now failing. Joe Biden is clearly failing in this particular thing, because now we see that direct as Iran has carried an attack on Israel, so it has turned in a regional crisis. It has turned in a regional crisis. So this is something that has happened. Also, if we see, so this is something that has happened. Moreover, guys, you might already be knowing this particular thing, that from Yemen, Houthis, they have also started attacking the ships in the Red Sea. So ships that are either coming from Israel or are going towards Israel, they are being attacked by Houthi rebels. Here also, US has not been able to play any important role. Any important role. These attacks are going on. So here we say that US has completely failed. US has completely failed. Then second, let's see this particular issue from the point of view of Israel. From the point of view of Israel. So we see that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, so what happened? He came to the power saying this thing, that he will bring an end to all the security challenges that are there on Israel. He said that he will uproot Hamas. He said that he will bring back the glory for Israel. All these promises were made by Mr. Netanyahu. But we saw that during his career, the largest attack on Israel was carried on October 7 by the Hamas. So this was the first failure of Israel's prime minister. It was alleged that you say that you will run the most sophisticated intelligence establishment, but you were not able to predict that this big attack was coming. So this was the first failure of Israel. Then the second failure is that, see, 6 months have happened, but Hamas is still not dismantled. The Hamas has still not dismantled. Also, the hostages that were taken by Hamas. So what happened? Hamas took Israeli citizens as hostages. These hostages have also not been released up till now. So this is the second big failure of Israel's prime minister. And thirdly, if you see, there is a genocide case that has been filed against the Israel in International Criminal Court. So what has happened? The credibility of Israel has also been brought down, and right now Israel is facing pressure from almost so much of the country, human right activist groups, and under the UN also, Israel is seeing so much of the crisis. So here we say that this is the third failure of Israel's prime minister. Now understand this particular thing, that actually what now actually it is being said that this entire thing that has happened, it might be a master plan of prime minister of Israel. Now see what happened. What happened here? Israel, first they attack Iranian embassy in Syria. First they attacked the Iranian embassy in Syria, and they knew this particular thing. They knew this particular thing from the start, that Iran will counter attack. Now they said that Israel wanted Iran to attack. Why Israel wanted Iran to attack? Because now Israel will bring US. Israel will bring US. And as US will enter, then with the full might, Israel will bring a crackdown on Iran. It might attack Hezbollah. So all the regional enemies that are there, Israel wants to wipe them all once US enters this particular war. But again, one more question comes. And the question is this: is the Israeli society and Israeli state ready for a prolonged war? Now you see that on one front there is Russia-Ukraine war that is going on. Now obviously we know that Ukraine was of no match for the Russia, but we find that now this war has been extended for more than 2 years, and nothing has happened. Fine, nearly 3 years have happened and nothing is coming out of this particular war. So whether, if this kind of a protracted war opened up, because see, Iran also has amassed a lot of power. Recently, Iran, they also has tested fired their hypersonic missile. They have also test fired their hypersonic missile, that is Fatah. Okay, so Iran also has a lot of might. So point is that, are they ready to fight this particular kind of a war? Okay, so this is something. Now also, in mid of this, Israel is facing a kind of a dilemma. And the dilemma is this. Let's see. If Israel attacked Iran, if Israel attacked Iran, then there will be counterattack on Israel. If it did not attack the Iran, then what will happen? Iran will say that Israel got scared of us. Israel got scared of us, and it will further bring down credibility of Prime Minister of Israel. So Israel is right now confused. Moreover, if we see Iran know this particular thing, that see, when they were directly attacking on Israel, they knew that they are crossing a kind of a line. They are crossing a kind of a line. Moreover, this attack was a huge attack. You see, 300 drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, all were originated from Israeli territory and attacked the Israel. Okay, they know that they are going to cross this particular red line, but now Iran is also determined to cross it. Iran is also determined to cross it. And now let's see that what is the response that will come out of it. Now here, if we talk about India, now India has said that we are seriously concerned, and India has said that there should be immediate de-escalation and diplomatic measures that should be initiated to bring a kind of a lasting truce, lasting peace between Iran and Israel. Now guys, this has always been, or most of the time, the India's response during these kind of a crisis, that we never take sides. We will say that this particular situation should be diffused, and it goes in line with the India's policy of strategic autonomy. Now if you see guys here, obviously both the countries, that is Israel as well as Iran, are important partners for India. With Iran, we are taking forward Chabahar project. We are taking forward Chabahar project in the international north-south transit corridor. Iran is an important partner. And when we talk about the Israel, with Israel also, fine, I2U2 has been started. With Israel also, I2U2 has been started. Just a minute. I2U2 has been started. India, Middle East, Europe corridor, IMEC. There also, both the countries are important partner. Then in the weaponry also, Israel is an important partner for India. So both the countries are important partner, and India cannot take a sides. Okay. Moreover, even when you take about the Russia-Ukraine war, India has not taken a clear side because of their policy of strategic autonomy. So this has happened, and basically, Ministry of External Affairs, they say that they are also in contact with the Indian communities living in the zone where the attacks have happened, and they'll ensure that Indian communities, they will be successfully rescued if needed. Okay, this is something that has happened. Okay, now see this particular thing. Now India, the most important concern that India has of the Indian people living in this particular region. So there are there are about 10,000 Indians in Iran. But when we talk about Israel, there are large number of Indians that are there. Okay, fine, about 8 millions are there. Fine. 8 millions are the one who work across the Gulf region. So basically, as this particular war will unfold, basically the safety of Indians is also something that is going to be the most important one. So this is all about this. And now moving to the next article. What is doxing? What is doxing and measures that you can take if it happens to you? So basically, guys, what happened recently? One incident happened that a woman's video of dance was shared by a man on social media, and her dance and on her dance some derogatory comments, some negative comments was made. Now this is an example of doxing. So basically, what doxing means now, it can be GS paper number 3, cyber technologies and the issues related to cyber technologies, there it can be used. So GS paper number 3, internal security. GS paper number 3, internal security. Within internal security, cyber technologies and related issues. Okay, so doxing. Now, what a doxing is? Doxing simply refers to digitally publicize a person's private detail. Now, what? So suppose, suppose that there is a person XYZ. There is a person XYZ, and let's say this particular person's video is there. This person's video is there where he is drinking alcohol, he's consuming alcohol, or let's say he's smoking, or let's say he is using a particular type of a language. There is a video of this XYZ person. you got this particular video, and you shared this particular video online on social media without taking the consent of this person, without taking the consent of this particular person. Your objective is to ridicule this person in public platform, ridicule this person in public platform. So this act is called as doxing. This act is called as doxing. So these doxers, what they'll do, they'll publicize the highly personal data such as the address, their phone numbers, private email ID, their medical condition, their documents, or even their videos, all will be spread online without taking the consent. Now, this particular information can be obtained through illegal method, such as they can hack their account, or basically through theft or some other kind of an illegal means they can capture this information. Sometimes, guys, there is also one more dimension that's there. Sometimes there is one more dimension that's there. Suppose I have shared some of my photograph on my private account, but some other person, what he did, he took this particular photograph and posted it on some other handle, some other page, and tag this person's employer. Okay, so this is also one thing that will come. Now here the doxer might take the benefit of the fact that the photo was publicly available, but this also will be coming in the doxing. This will also be coming in doxing, means that even you got the person's photo video online and you shared it, you have not stolen, then also it will come in doxing. Okay, now when we talk about doxing, so basically users, what they do, they share the details, fine, which are then shared worldwide. Okay. Now, often what happens, basically bringing doxers to justice is also not very much easy, because a person who is doxing you might be sitting in some third country. So tracking them, bringing them to justice often becomes very much difficult, very much difficult. Also, when we talk about doxing is a direct attack on a person's physical, digital, and emotional security. How? Suppose, suppose I am talking with my friend. I'm talking with my friend, okay, and I said some XYZ thing which might hurt some other's religious sentiment, now this was a private video. Some doxer put this particular video online, and now there are the religious groups which are angry, and these religious groups wants to kill this person who has made these particular statements. So what can happen? A person's physical security might be harmed, a person's digital security might be harmed. People will abuse you, people will troll you, people will make memes out of you, and all this will impact a person's emotional well-being, a person's emotional security. So a person who has been doxed many number of times, they have to flee from that physical location. They need to stay under the radar for a very long period of time for the sake of other family members, need to clarify that situation to employers and to people at large, and all this negatively impacts the person. Now people who have been doxed, they can file a complaint through the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. Also they can file an FIR. And we find this thing that the doxing disproportionately impacts women, children, LGBT people, and causes a lot of distress to them. Now social media platforms also, such as Google and Meta, they have places in built within their platform which can assist the people if you are being doxed. So under the copyright violation, under the fair usage policy, they can be, the such accounts can be blocked and the protection can be provided. Fine. So this is all about the doxing. I hope you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Breach of convention. Breach of convention. Now this particular article again we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, international affairs. International affairs. So let's understand the development that we are going to discuss here. So basically here guys, if you see, we have South America, and here we have Ecuador. And you can see capital of Ecuador is Quito. Quito is capital of Ecuador. Now when we talk about neighbors of Ecuador, we have here Peru in the south, and then here we have Colombia towards the north and northeast. These are the two neighbors of Ecuador. And here you can see that on further western side there is a Pacific Ocean. Okay, here there is a Caribbean Sea. Okay, so Ecuador. Now guys, Ecuador has done something which is leading to a diplomatic crisis at the world level. Let's understand this particular thing. So basically, recently Ecuador raided Mexican embassy in Quito, that is their capital. So in Quito, which is in Ecuador, they have made a raid on Mexican embassy. Now, first of all, let's understand that why they have made a raid on Mexican embassy. So basically, there is this person by the name of George David Glass. Now, George David Glass was a former vice president, in Ecuador, and he was charged of corruption. He was charged of corruption along with the president. So, president, that is Rafael Correa, as well as now Rafael Correa was a president and George David Glass is vice president. Both of them were charged of corruption. Both of them were charged of corruption. Okay, and the vice president was in Mexican embassy. So they have raided Mexican embassy and they have arrested this vice president. They have arrested the vice president. Now this has become a major controversy. Why? Because guys, when you talk about any embassy is believed to be the part, or it is believed to be the territory of that foreign country. For example, if Mexico's embassy is there in Ecuador, though embassy is in Ecuador, but the area where that embassy is, it is treated to be the territory of Mexico, where the Mexico will enjoy sovereignty. Ecuador's agencies, Ecuador's police, they cannot enter here. They cannot enter here without taking the permission from Mexico. But without taking any permission from Mexico, what they did, they entered the Mexican embassy, they arrested the former vice president, and it is being said that it is outright violation of Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Okay, so this is something that has happened. It is outright convention on it is outright violation on Vienna Convention. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Also, guys, if you see, last week Ecuador declared Mexico's ambassador as a persona non grata. Now, what is this meaning of persona non grata? So basically, when a diplomat is, for example, let's say Ecuador says Mexico that you please recall back your ambassador. You recall back your ambassador. Right now, Mexico's ambassador is in Ecuador. Ecuador says that you please recall your ambassador. This is called as declaring an ambassador as a persona non grata. Now, why he was declared as a persona non grata? It is because Mexico's president made certain comments that were critical of Ecuador's 2023 elections. And this is something that happened, and now in retaliation, they have entered the Mexico's embassy without taking the permission. Now, what actually happened? Mexico earlier also decided to grant asylum to Mr. Glass, who is now arrested, the vice president, which has angered Ecuador. So this is something that has happened. Now, also Mexico, I told you na that this basically the embassy will be treated as a part of a territory of Mexico, and Mexico says that our sovereignty has been breached. So Mexico says that Mexico now is filing a case and it has moved to the International Court of Justice, and there Mexico is demanding that Ecuador should be expelled from the United Nations. Ecuador should be expelled from United Nations. Now, at the same time, if we see, then Ecuador's president was also facing a lot of crisis. So, President Noboa, who is the president of Ecuador, is facing crisis. Why? Because he's not been able to control gang violence. So he contested the election saying that I will control gang violence, I will bring law and order back, but he has been failed to do that. Now Ecuador people, they are going to referendum which will give government more power to fight with the gang violence, but up till now the Ecuador's president has been failed. So right now the priority for Ecuador is to ensure that law and order situation is improved, and at the same time they need to ensure that this diplomatic crisis that has happened, it should be brought back to the balance. So that is all about it. And now moving to next article. Urbanization, no liberating force for Dalit. Okay, now. So this particular article, guys, we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 1, issues related to Indian society, social justice. Now here we are going to see Dr. B. R. Ambedkar's approach with respect to Dalit people, Gandhiji's approach with respect to Dalit people, and their belief with respect to Dalit and village life. Let's understand this. So basically, Dr. Ambedkar rejected the idea of village life. Now, if we talk about Gandhiji believed in the idea of village republics. Gandhiji believed that the villages are the ones which can be the self-sufficient units in governance, economic activity, social change, everything. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar rejected the village life and said that in villages, social injustice, the Varna Vyavastha, caste Vyavastha, will be followed to its extreme. So, villages basically will never bring the social justice. And Dr. Ambedkar encouraged Dalits that they should move to the city. They should move to city. Dr. Ambedkar said that Indian village is the working plant of Hindu social order, okay, and said that it is the ideal place to understand caste. Caste discrimination, caste hierarchy is deeply entrenched in villages. But Gandhiji's view was different. He said that villages are self-reliant, equitable, and non-just and are the platforms where just non-violent order can be followed. Okay. Also Ambedkar believed that you please don't idealize the Indian village. So they said that Indian villages they have emerged. Fine idealization of Indian villages has emerged from the colonial romanticism. Colonial romanticism. Okay. Or because the Hindus, high caste Hindus, they want to retain their caste domination, and this caste domination is supremely retained in villages. This is the reason that the villages are promoted. Okay, so this is something that happened. Also, Ambedkar opposed the idea of making villages as an autonomous administrative units in the Constituent Assembly. This is something that happened. Now, if we see Ambedkar saw that through urbanization, caste reform will happen. Even Jyoti Rao Phule believed that what will happen, there will be a liberal mindset that will prevail in urban cities, and because of this liberal mindset, Dalit will be able to make a dignified living. The caste discrimination will not be there. Caste discrimination will not be there. So actually, they see understand what happened. It was believed that this basically urbanization is fueled by skill-based transition to economy. Skill-based transition to economy. Earlier, there was caste-based occupation that were followed. Your caste will determine your occupation. Now it is happening that your skill will determine your occupation. Industrialization has brought this change. Due to industrialization, your skill will define your occupation. So even let's say if a Dalit is a skilled trader, he can do that job. Even let's say if a Dalit is a skilled warrior, fine, he can do the job related to that. So this is a belief, and therefore urban life will reform the caste. Also, it has been believed that when you are in a city, you become a stranger. You become a stranger in the sea of strangers. Okay, nobody is bothered about your caste. Nobody is bothered about your religion. And from caste based, we will transition to a class based orders where your status will be determined by what you have, by your economic well-being. So this is something that happened. However, even in city, it was not the situation that there was not any problem. Ambedkar found that even the skilled Dalits were not allowed to enter the weaving sections of the textile mill. This was something that was there, but Dr. Ambedkar believed that these things will be rectified over a period of time. Over a period of time. But today, when we see that actually in the city also the language of purity and pollution prevails. Okay, so basically it has been seen that actually it is believed that the Dalit people or the poor people find they are impure, they are polluted, and if they will enter the areas which are believed pure, they will pollute them. And eating non-vegetarian food, it is seen as an act of pollution, and it is even a deal breaker in rental housing. So many number of times the owners they have this condition that will not give you a house if you eat non-veg. Why? Because it is considered as a polluting activity. This is something that happens. Okay, so this is something that has happened. And now there was in 2021, Municipal Corporation of Gujarat, what they did, they banned the sale of meat-based street food in the main sites, saying that it will hurt religious sentiments. Similarly, Uttar Pradesh also passed an order saying that the shops selling the non-vegetarian items, they need to cover their shops so that the people passing by, they don't see that. So why it is believed that the meat is impure kind of a food and could pollute a public space, so this pollution dimension is still there. It is still there. And it has been found that the sacrifice zones where there are a lot of environmental pollution degradation is going on, for example the zones where there is a landfill, so you find that around landfill there will be a lot of air pollution, water pollution, everything. So we find that in these kind of zones, majority of the people who live are Dalit or the Muslims. So this caste and religious divide still prevails in the city. It still prevails in city. Okay. Also, the recent basically demolition drives that have happened, they have also targeted Dalits and Muslims. So city life has still not accommodated Dalit people, and still these discriminations prevail there. So this is the idea of this entire article. And now moving to next article. Decoding the judgment on Jim Corbett. Decoding the judgment on Jim Corbett. So basically, guys, what happened? Recently, Supreme Court has issued the order where it has called out the unholy nexus of politicians. So basically, recently 6,000 trees were chopped in Jim Corbett Park, and this particular land, this forested land, was converted for non-forest purposes. So forested land was converted for not forest, non-forest purposes. This is something that happened. Now, we find this particular thing that though there are many legislations which aim to conserve environment, which aim to protect the wildlife. For example, there is Wildlife Protection Act 1972. There is a Project Tiger. There is Forest Conservation Act 1980. So many acts we have which talks about the conservation of wildlife and environment, but still these kind of activities are happening that you can see 6,000 trees were chopped. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Now here it has been seen that government said that we did this particular thing because we will promote the ecological tourism. Because of that ecological tourism, a lot of revenue will be earned. This can be the justification of the government. But we need to understand this particular thing that just economic justification cannot be used for any kind of an environmental damage. In fact, if you see, Supreme Court gave a judgment that is in Rural Litigation and Entitlement Kendra versus State of Uttar Pradesh. This judgment was given in 1983. And in this judgment, Supreme Court very clearly provided that economic growth cannot be achieved at the cost of environmental destruction. It cannot happen that you will damage the environment, okay, and then you will say that, okay, by that some economic benefit has happened, and for that we have damaged the environment. No, you cannot say this thing. Also, it has been provided by Supreme Court that now the time has come that we need to move away just from the environmental cost, and we need to recognize ecocentrism and not anthropocentrism. What is ecocentrism? It is when all the activities are kept in mind, all activities are done keeping in mind environment. All the activities are done keeping in mind wildlife. Whether if the impact will be positive, then those activities will be allowed, otherwise not. Ecocentrism is not needed, not the anthropocentrism. What anthropocentrism does, it keeps the human's interest at center, at helm. So we need now ecocentrism in place of anthropocentrism. Also, court had said that tiger safaris, they cannot be allowed in the core areas, they cannot be allowed in the critical tiger habitats or core areas in the national park, and not just in Jim Corbett Park, in all the protected areas across India. Fine, no tiger safari is allowed in the core area of a national park or a critical tiger habitat. Now, here guys, use this. So there is one principle that was given by British environmentalist Norman Mayers. Norman Mayers has given this precautionary principle. Now, what this precautionary principle says? So often we find that where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage by an activity, but when there is lack of full scientific certainty, often what happens, suppose introducing tiger safari in critical tiger habitat will lead to threat to the tiger population. But right now, let's say there is not too much evidence that how. See, we know it will disturb the tiger, but what will be the degree of impact? We don't know that. We don't have scientific studies for that. So what will be done? These kind of things will be postponed. Conservation will be postponed. Okay, this is something that is happening. Fine. Now, there is IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, and IUCN Red List provides that 12% of the animal species in India are endangered. At the same time, Center for Science and Environment, they released a report and said that 90% of the area under the 4 biodiversity hotspots have been lost. So it shows that how much environmental degradation, how much environmental destruction is happening, and we need to take care of. Now, often when forested land is being converted to the non-forested areas, what happens often, when the forested land is converted to non-forested areas, it is said that you need to pay for that. you need to pay for that. And there is compensatory afforestation levy and net present value that is imposed. Compensatory afforestation levy, suppose you cut down 1,000 trees, you need to ensure that you plant a particular number of trees at some other area also. For that, compensatory afforestation levy is charged. And then net present value. See, the trees that you have chopped, the timber that you have chopped, it has some value. So that value is also to be paid. So compensatory afforestation levy, net present value is imposed whenever the forests are diverted or the trees are chopped. But these methodologies are not right. These methodologies are flawed. See, wood, timber will have a price, but that tree, it was giving accommodation, it was giving habitat to large variety of birds, ecological services, it was purifying lot of, basically it was absorbing a lot of carbon. How ecological services that are provided, you are going to manage it. So we need not to just be satisfied through this compensatory and afforestation levy and net present value. Ecological services that a forest gives, they are also very much important, and we need to recognize this particular thing. So therefore we need now to come with a system which recognizes the cost of natural services that are also being given. And keeping in mind, we need to further take forward the conservation of environment and all such activities where the trees are being chopped down, any diversion is happening, we need to ensure that such things are not tolerated. So this is guys all about it, and with this we come to an end to this session. I hope you've understood it. So that is all guys about it, and now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves guys. Thank you so much.